his life on the line. Now his ghost walks the beat on a dark city street, and he stands at each new rookie's side.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Pat Boone with his part of his three-song special for honoring police officers who have been slain in the line of duty. We're joined by Pat Boone, legendary singer, TV host, number 10 all-time recording artist according to Billboard. Pat, it's so good to talk to you again, my friend.
Great to talk to you, Steve. Thanks so much for playing this song, and of course there's some others. And even though I've been writing these songs for some years, it's been very difficult to get anybody to play them.
What did you think when Hillary at the DNC put up those mothers of Michael Brown's mother, Trayvon Martin's mother, yet had no widows or orphans representing the slain police officers?
Well, I, of course, empathize with them. It's awful to lose one of your own children, but what was not mentioned is that I think in almost every case, I'm not sure if there was an exception, each one was guilty of some crime. There was a confrontation brought about by breaking the law. And yes, sometimes police overreact, but you know, they are trying to defend their own lives as well as ours. And so it was skewed. It was a very unbalanced kind of a presentation.
Let me ask you, what do you think of what's going on in the campaign so far? Hillary opening up huge leads in the polls. Can Donald Trump resurrect himself and still win this?
Well, it is possible because I've written a column for WorldNet Daily, and my title, well, first my working title was "What the blank do we do now?" And let you fill in the blank. But then we changed it to "Has God Deserted America?" And I do believe that because the culture has reached the place where en masse people are afraid to even speak the name of God or Christianity. They're calling some scripture hate speech, things like this. And so God says, oh, well, if you want to handle things on your own, if you don't want to be one nation under God, well, then I'll let you try it yourselves for a while, which is where we are now. We've got two candidates, and 60 or 70% of the American voting public doesn't like either one. We're going to have to choose. And I quoted Mae West, and I've never quoted Mae West before, but in saying that when she has to choose between two evils, she chooses the one she hasn't tried yet. And in this case, we know what one candidate will do to America because there's a long 30-year record of it, and all the promises of what she would do in the future, that is support elect or
nominate,
nominate Supreme Court justices who will pursue a non-constitutional line of government, and another candidate who, of course, has said a lot of improvident things, and I myself have talked to him and said, please start acting more presidential. I'm sure your own wife is urging you to do it, and Donald Trump laughed when I said it, because we've got two choices, and one, we don't know what he would do, but one thing for sure, he's made some very serious promises in line with what the American people want.
Pat, I want to pick up on that. Where did you talk to him? Where did you say that to him?
Well, oddly enough, it was a day like this day. I played tennis today, and I was on the tennis court about 3 weeks ago, and he called me on my private phone, and he knew that I'd said something that was mildly complimentary about him on Fox, and so he wanted to thank me for it. And we've been acquaintances and somewhat friends for a long time, and we hadn't talked much since he announced and was getting the nomination. But I said something nice about him being what the founding fathers had in mind, that is, not professional politicians. They did not envision professional politicians. They wanted businessmen, lawyers, teachers, ministers, dropping their other professions for a year or two to represent their people, and then going back to their professions, not settling in for 30, 40, 50 years on the public dole and becoming wealthy, being a congressman, senator, or even a president. And so he would have been an acceptable candidate.
Right.
Not to say that he's the best candidate. I did quote in that article how God used an ass, a donkey, a mule, when the prophet Balaam was not doing God's will. He gave the voice to an ass who spoke to the prophet and said what God wanted done. It's in 1 Samuel in the Bible.
But Pat, we're almost out of time. So again, what did you say to him? And his laugh was the response. What did you say to him exactly?
Was that I hope you will look at some Ronald Reagan debates and see how he could express himself thoroughly and clearly, but with respect to the other candidate. And that's more presidential. You need to seem more presidential.
And he gave you a little laugh.
And he laughed,
Yeah.
but I think he heard me.
All right, I hope so. Pat, we hear you. We love you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Steve.